The big win for the Narendra Modi government today in the Supreme Court. 4 years after the centre took away Jammu and Kashmir's special status and downsized the states to union territories, the Supreme Court in a unanimous verdict upheld the abrogation of Article 370. The court directed the Election Commission of India to hold elections by September 30th, 2024. On the contentious issue of withdrawal of statehood, the court remained silent. It is our top story tonight.
We have held that a textual reading of Article 370 also indicates that it is a temporary provision.
It's a big victory for the Narendra Modi government. In a landmark verdict, the Supreme Court of India upheld the abrogation of Article 370 of the Constitution that gave Jammu and Kashmir special status. The unanimous verdict was given by the 5 senior-most judges of the court: Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud, Justices S.K. Kaul, Sanjeev Khanna, B.R. Gavai and Suryakant. Upholding the scrapping of special status, the court ruled that Article 370 was a temporary provision to deal with the situation of the war then. The CJI said that Jammu and Kashmir held no internal sovereignty after accession to India. The court, however, struck down a part of the presidential order that amended Article 367 to rename the J&K Constituent Assembly as State Assembly. The court did not rule on the removal of statehood as the government had assured restoration of statehood during the hearing. It directed the centre to hold elections in J&K by September 30, 2024.
This court is alive to the security concerns in the territory. Direct elections to the legislative assemblies, which is one of the paramount features of representative democracy in India, cannot be put on hold until statehood is restored. We direct that steps shall be taken by the Election Commission of India to conduct elections to the Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, constituted under Section 14 of the Reorganisation Act by 30 September 2024. Restoration of statehood shall take place at the earliest and as soon as possible.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the verdict by the top court and said the dreams of people of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh will now be fulfilled. In Kashmir, former Chief Ministers Mehbooba Mufti and Umar Abdullah claimed they were put under house arrest ahead of the verdict. They expressed disappointment at the SC verdict.
आज जो हरकत मरकजी सरकार ने पार्लियामेंट के अंदर नाजायज, गैर कानूनी, गैर आईनी की, उसको जो जायज करार दिया गया, वो जम्मू कश्मीर के लिए ही नहीं बल्कि आइडिया ऑफ इंडिया, हिंदुस्तान के तस्वुर के लिए एक सजाए मौत की खबर से कम नहीं है.
जहां अदालत में उनके हक में फैसले नहीं हुए, वहां उन्होंने अपनी सियासी कोशिशें जारी रखी. तो इसी तरह हम ये कबूल करते हैं कि आज हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जम्मू कश्मीर लद्दाख के लोगों के लिए इंसाफ हासिल नहीं कर सके, लेकिन हम अपनी कोशिशें बंद नहीं करेंगे पुरअमन तरीके से.
While the Rajya Sabha has debated on this issue, seeing a huge ruckus this afternoon, this entire debate now shifts to the political realm from the legal. What happens next in Jammu Kashmir? When will elections be held? That is what the petitioners are now asking. In New Delhi, with cameraman Ashwini Helan, this is Anisha Mathur for India Today.
And earlier this evening, Union Home Minister Amit Shah gave an hour-long speech in the Rajya Sabha claiming that he and his government had been vindicated after the Supreme Court verdict. The Congress has disagreed with the ruling. Listen in to both sides.
मान्यवर निर्णय कर लिया सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने, और ढेर सारी चीजों को जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी 1950 से बताती थी, और कांग्रेस, विपक्ष और विशेषकर कम्युनिस्ट भाइयों का हमेशा से हम पर आरोप था कि राजनीतिक बातें आप कर रहे हो. ये सारी चीजों को आज सर्वोच्च अदालत ने अमली जामा पहना लिया. न्यायालय ने माना कि जम्मू कश्मीर के पास कभी भी आंतरिक संप्रभुता नहीं थी. न्यायालय ने माना कि अनुच्छेद 370 एक अस्थायी प्रावधान था, इसमें कोई शंका कुशंका नहीं है। ये संवैधानिक सत्य है कि धारा 370 अस्थायी समाधान।
We reiterate the CWC resolution of 6th August 2019 that Article 370 deserved to be honored until it was amended strictly in accordance with the Constitution of India. We are also disappointed that the Honorable Supreme Court did not decide the question of dismembering the state and reducing its status to 2 union territories. That question has been reserved for adjudication in a suitable case in the future.
And joining me now is one of my newsmakers tonight, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah joins me for his reactions to that Supreme Court judgment. Appreciate your joining us, Omar Abdullah. There's a belief that today is a political victory for the centre and a big defeat for the valley-based parties who have been constantly campaigning against the abrogation of Article 370. Would you concede defeat after this Supreme Court judgment?
It's a defeat for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. It's a defeat for those people who believe that sovereign commitments that form the basis of accession, the people who believe that those should be upheld. It's a defeat for those people. It's not personally my defeat. It's not personally the defeat of just the National Conference. This was never about us. It's about Jammu and Kashmir. It's about the commitments that were made to the people of Jammu and Kashmir in 1947. So to that extent, yes, we've all lost. It's our collective loss, and no doubt it's a victory for the union government. It's a victory for the BJP, but that's the way it is.
No, the court was very specific, for example, in saying Jammu and Kashmir retained no sovereignty after accession to India. Article 370 was a temporary provision. I mean, these are, this has been for the longest time what Kashmir leaders, including yourself, your party, have claimed when demanding special status. So, in a sense, your entire arguments have been hollowed out, some would say, by the Supreme Court.
Well, Rajdeep, it's convenient that you take these words of the Supreme Court but forget the words that had been used in judgments prior to this. In prior judgments of 3 judge benches, 370 was upheld. The special status of Jammu and Kashmir was upheld. The permanency of 370 was upheld in cases like Sampath Prakash versus the Union and many others that we cited in our case this time. So, yes, I accept that this time we weren't able to convince 5 judges, but in the past we have convinced the Supreme Court of the relevance of our arguments. And who knows, going ahead, we may get the opportunity to change the mind of the Honorable Supreme Court the way they changed their mind this time compared to previous judgments. So, yes, it's a setback. We are disappointed, but we're not disheartened. And the struggle doesn't end. And why should it? I mean, did the BJP stop struggling when the Sampath Prakash judgment came? Did the BJP stop struggling when the Supreme Court upheld 370 and said that it was permanent? They didn't stop struggling then. So why should we be expected to end our struggle because of this setback?
Because in a sense that there is a belief now that there's no turning back. The Home Minister today in Parliament also was very clear. In fact, he went to the extent of saying Article 370 almost incentivized terrorism. This notion of separateness, of special status was seen, according to the Home Minister Amit Shah, as a reason for militancy, for terror, for a demand for a independent Jammu and Kashmir. So let's be very clear. This government is very clear. It's not turning back. As long as the BJP is in a majority in Parliament, it's not turning back. And the Supreme Court today has said Parliament is free to make these decisions.
have you given up on democracy, Rajdeep? Have you sort of made peace with the notion that the BJP will rule India forever and that we will never have a government other than the BJP at the center? I haven't made peace with that notion. I believe that governments come and governments go. Yes, today the BJP reigns supreme. They have the upper hand. But this won't be the first government to lose an election when it does eventually happen. And who knows? I mean, did you see this day coming a few years ago? You didn't. So how do you know what the future has in store for us?
No, no one has any idea what the future has in store, Omar Abdullah. I'm only discussing the present.
To say that it's all over.
No, I know no one knows what the future holds. I'm looking at it from the present. You've had a unanimous verdict from the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
You've got a majority government which is today feeling validated by what the court has said. So I have to look at the situation as it exists today.
Sure. And I'm looking at the situation as it existed in the past and as it existed today. We've had unanimous judgments of the Supreme Court in the past as well. You've had governments with their own majorities in the past as well. So it is quite possible that this sort of a situation will reverse in the days to come. So why would you expect me to give up and suggest that what has happened today is irreversible or irrevocable? If the Supreme Court could change its mind between the Sampath Prakash judgment and today, I'd like to assume that there is a possibility that we can perhaps some future Supreme Court, we can convince them or we can convince the rest of the country of our political arguments. I mean, the BJP struggled for more than 50 years to get to where it has today. So, I mean, why would you expect us to give up our struggle? We believe we are right. The BJP believes it's right. So fine, we'll agree to disagree with each other. As far as 370 being the root cause of terrorism is concerned, look, one sec, Rajdeep, let me finish. You can either blame Pakistan or you can blame 370. If 370 was the root cause of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir, then terrorism should have started in 1947, not in 1987. For 40 years prior to 87, you still had 370, but you had no terrorism. And even now, okay, so it's been 4 years, you've revoked Article 370 or you've hollowed it out. It still forms part of the Constitution, but you've hollowed it out. Does terror not exist in Jammu and Kashmir today? So if 370 was the root cause of terror in Jammu and Kashmir, terror should have ended. Why is it that just day before yesterday, we buried a brave police officer of J&K police? Why is it just days before that, we've seen army officers killed? You've seen senior army officers killed in encounters in places like Kokarnag. You've seen Rajouri sort of go up again in the clutches of severe and serious militant encounters. So let's not, I mean, either 370 is to blame or Pakistan is to blame. I mean, tell us which one it is.
Okay, Omar Abdullah, I want to quote to you what Karan Singh, senior Congress leader, Maharaja Hari Singh's son, has said today. A section of people in Jammu and Kashmir who will be not happy with this judgment, my sincere advice is they should accept the inevitable and they should accept the fact that now this has been done. Now my suggestion is they should turn their energies towards fighting the next elections. Fight the next elections, and there is a promise also that not only will elections be held soon, but statehood will also be restored.
No, your audio is crackling, but look, I have all respect and regard for Dr. Karan Singh, but look, he's chartered his own course, we'll chart ours. If he has no love lost for his own forefathers' legacy, then there's nothing much I can say about that. Look, I mean, it's pretty unfortunate that Dr. Karan Singh in his own lifetime has seen Jammu and Kashmir dismembered, a Jammu and Kashmir that was put together by his forefathers. It wasn't put together by my forefathers. The map of erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir as it existed before 5th August 2019 was a legacy of the royal family of Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, if he doesn't want to own that legacy or he's happy to see it sort of washed away, then so be it. But with all due respect to him, he's decided what he has decided. We will decide what we want to. And that's it. Now, as far as elections are concerned, this fight wasn't about elections. We would have got our elections one way or the other. The Supreme Court has given a timeline. Fair enough. That's something we can work towards. As far as statehood is concerned, again, it was a cop-out.
Can I?
Why was the, I mean, if the Supreme Court could talk about a timeline for elections, why no timeline for statehood? Why at the earliest? What do you mean by at the earliest? At the earliest, who is to decide at the earliest? At the earliest could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, depending upon the mood of the government at the center. I'm sorry. I mean, this statehood should be restored at the earliest was just a cop-out by the Supreme Court.
There is one statement by the Supreme Court that intrigued me. Justice calls for the setting up of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Would you support such an idea if tomorrow the centre was to say, let's have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to heal the wounds of the valleys, whether they are of Kashmiri Muslims or Kashmiri Pandits? Would you support it?
Well, I mean, I'd like to believe that Justice Kaul has read some blog posts of mine from when people used to actually blog rather than tweet or put stuff on Instagram. Because I had talked about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for Jammu and Kashmir way back in the early 2000s. So perhaps somewhere Justice Kaul has seen something that I've written or something that I've said and included it in his judgment today. I've been an old advocate of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and I'll always support one, with the caveat that a Truth and Reconciliation Commission that doesn't look into things that have happened on the other side of the line of control, things that have happened in Pakistan or the parts of Jammu and Kashmir that are controlled by Pakistan, will be an incomplete Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But if we have to start with one set up only by the government of India, so be it. Let's go forward from there.
One final question. You're saying you're going to fight for what you believe are the rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Do you believe that maybe you're out of touch with the people of Jammu and Kashmir, that the people of Jammu and Kashmir have moved on? Article 370 is now the past. They want to see a Naya Kashmir. They want to see a Naya Kashmir based on faster economic growth and more inclusivity.
Fine. They've seen no economic growth and no inclusivity. They've seen rubbish. They've seen absolutely nothing since 5th August 2019. They've seen hollow promises and lies. That's all that has happened.
They've seen relative peace.
Since the 5th of August
They've seen relative peace and they've seen a boom in the tourism industry. They've seen, Omar Abdullah, it cannot be completely as if it's only been a period of darkness the last 4 years. There have been some positive development, surely.
Yeah, other than the tourism, can you tell me what else? Because the tourism is confined to Srinagar, Gulmarg and Pahalgam, perhaps a bit of Sonmarg. Okay, so the entire valley lives far beyond these places. So other than the slight increase in the number of tourists, would you care to point me towards one other thing that has changed for the better for the people of Jammu and Kashmir? You were talking about inclusivity and economic development.
Stone pelting no longer takes place on the street. We do not see those images of stone pelting. We do not see those images of violence and hartals.
I've already agreed that this government has been able to suppress that. I have no problem in accepting that. When this government can lock me up, they can lock anybody up. So I'm willing to accept that. You were talking about economic development and inclusivity. I'm asking you to point me towards that.
Okay. Omar Abdullah.
And you said the people have moved on and I'm out of touch. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, Rajdeep. There is an election. By this time next year, we will have had an election. By September at the latest, unless this government finds some reason not to have an election. Let's see who's out of touch. We'll talk when the results come out.
Okay. Omar Abdullah, for speaking your mind out, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. So that was Omar Abdullah giving us the perspective of a valley-based Kashmir party, but the legal implications go well beyond just Jammu and Kashmir. And what are those implications? Joining me now, Satyapal Jain, former Additional Solicitor General of the country, who's been also a BJP MP in the past. Shadan Farasat, Advocate Supreme Court. Appreciate both of you joining us. I want from both of you first, right at the outset, you Satyapal Jain, your biggest takeaway from this judgment. What, according to you, is the biggest constitutional takeaway from this judgment?
I think the Supreme Court have once again affirmed the sovereignty of the Constitution of India by saying that the powers exercised by the Parliament, the President of India, under the Constitution of India are valid and they have been upheld by the Supreme Court. A message has gone to the whole world that as per the Indian Constitution now, the Jammu and Kashmir has always been and will be an integral part of the Indian state, and any other argument by either Pakistan or by some people in India that it's not an integral part of India now has gone. And thirdly, the Indian Supreme Court also says about the holding of the elections in the state, restoration of the statehood also. It's a very balanced judgment which has been delivered by the Supreme Court, and it establishes that the Parliament, the executive and judiciary, they are supreme in their own fields, but ultimately sovereignty is that of the Constitution of India. And now, as per the Constitution, Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India.
You know, but the fact, Satyapal Jain, is one of the possible repercussions is tomorrow, if a state is under president's rule, it can be carved out into union territories simply by majority in parliament. Today it's happened with Jammu and Kashmir. Tomorrow it could happen with any other state. And the Supreme Court has chosen not to intervene in the process. Is that not worrying? Is that not something that should be concerning?
Because of the reason. No. Because of the reason that under Article 3 of the Constitution of India, this power vests with the Parliament. And Parliament has been exercising these powers earlier also. I am in Chandigarh. Take the example of Chandigarh. In 1966, when Punjab was partitioned into Punjab, Haryana, and some areas were given to Himachal Pradesh, at the last moment, in fact, the Shah Commission had recommended that entire Kharar Tehsil, including Chandigarh, should be given to Haryana. But at the last moment, the then government led by Srimati Indira Gandhi decided to make Chandigarh as a UT. And it is UT after even about 50 years. That is the power vested in Parliament. And Parliament consists of representatives from all the states, all sections of society. We should have faith in Parliament. And do not forget, the Constitution has given the power of making laws, making states, making alteration in their boundaries to the Parliament of India.
Can I bring in Shadan Farasad? For you, what is the biggest takeaway, Mr. Farasad? You're on mute. You're on mute, sir.
There were two aspects in this matter. One was the 370 aspect and one was the conversion from the state to UT aspect. On the first 370 aspect, the Supreme Court has not accepted the government's mechanism of doing this. And they have said that actually the amendments which you made to convert in the Constitution a Constituent Assembly into a Legislative Assembly, that power you did not have. However, they have then gone on to approve it on a different basis, which is that under Article 370, once the Constituent Assembly of J&K ceased to exist in 1957, the President of India could have unilaterally revoked the provision at any time. That, to me, to be honest, that reasoning of Supreme Court is quite surprising. And because if that was the case, then really speaking, 370 was not a protection at all. Because any time after the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist, all the President had to do was a unilateral declaration. So that reasoning is quite surprising to me. Although they have not accepted the government's way of doing it, they have nevertheless upheld the revocation.
No, they've accepted that the reasoning they've given, from what I can see, Shadan, is an interesting concept called asymmetric federalism. They seem to suggest that giving this special status to Jammu and Kashmir was a temporary provision. Had it been permanent, it would have created what they seem to believe, or at least Justice Sanjeev Khanna seems to believe, is asymmetric federalism.
No, so the judgment recognizes that India has many aspects and many examples of asymmetric federalism. But even whatever metaphor you may use to describe it, there's a mechanism of a change there that Article 370 itself had. Now, for the Supreme Court to say that, listen, once the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist, the President could have unilaterally done it. Therefore, effectively, any government, what they are saying, from 58 onwards, any presidential order could have unilaterally revoked 370. Then what was the meaning of that protection? I mean, I find that, I will put it, I find that reasoning quite surprising. However, they have not accepted the government's route of doing it, which is to amend 367, then make the Constituent Assembly Legislative Assembly, then the Legislative Assembly acts as a parliament and then does this. So that's a technical thing. I think the reason the court has not accepted the government's reasoning is the court was at some level conscious of if you allow a government to do something in 356, that is precedence rule, to change the nature of a state in the manner in which it has, then or change something as fundamental as 370, then there will be problem not just for J&K but also for all states around. So I think they have consciously avoided going the government way and therefore come up with this solution. That's on 370. Now we come to state versus UT. On state versus UT, the question was directly before the court that whether this conversion from state to UT is permitted under the constitution. And therefore, just allow me a moment. The real question was, can you extinguish a state completely into two UTs that no portion of the earlier state remains as the UT? Does the constitution permit that? And they have not answered that question. And I was slightly disappointed with that as well, because that question was directly before the court. Undertaking by a law officer to the court cannot in any way, especially when the undertaking didn't have a crystallized timeline, cannot undo that. So therefore, my expectation was that the court will answer that second question. And that was really a slightly easier question for the court to answer, whether state versus UT.
Let me just take that to Satyapal Jain. You make a very important point.
The court has said that September 24 you will do elections.
Yes. They've given a deadline of September 24, but they've not addressed the question of statehood. They've left it to the center, which has said that we will do it at an appropriate time. Is that, Satyapal Jain, a cop-out? You see, the court has given, in that sense, some would say, a very conservative judgment. They have chosen not to confront the center and respected, some would say, Parliament's powers to decide whether a state becomes a union territory. But today, it's happened with Jammu and Kashmir. Tomorrow, it could happen with any other part of the country. Should that not be a matter of concern for you?
It cannot. No, not at all. Please try to understand the issue. The Supreme Court in its judgment, which is made available about 2 hours earlier. I have not been able to go through the entire judgment. But in the very beginning, their lordships framed about 25-30 questions that arose for consideration before the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court also says that the basic issue in the case is the abrogation of Article 370. And Article 370, subclause 3 itself gave the power to the President of India to modify, abrogate, whatever it wanted to do, it could do it. The only thing was whether it was to be done after consulting the Constituent Assembly of the state or not. And the Supreme Court has said after the merger of the Jammu and Kashmir, accession into India, the Constituent Assembly stand dissolved. Therefore, all those powers now, there is no question of consulting that all. So far as I am not able to understand this argument that today it has been done in the case of Jammu and Kashmir, it can be done in the case of other state also. No, it cannot be, because whatever has been done in the case of Jammu and Kashmir, it is an exercise of the powers conferred on the President of India or the Parliament of India under Article 370. So where the other states are concerned, they are governed by various provisions of the Constitution of India. S.R. Bomai's case, Chaurasia's case, Bihar, the dissolution of the Assembly, President rule and all that.
Shadad, you don't agree with that. At the end of the day, what this court judgment is doing is reflecting a certain separation of powers. The court is very clear. We do not want to intervene beyond the point in Parliament's jurisdiction to take a decision under Article 370.
No, so first aspect on 370, let's leave that out. The conversion of state to UT is not at all governed by 370. Let us be clear. That was an exercise carried out exclusively under Article 3 of the Constitution, correct? And whatever interpretation the Supreme Court has given there will equally apply to each and every other state in India. That was the state to UT conversion had nothing to do with Article 370. That's the second point. That's why whatever interpretation the Supreme Court gives there will equally apply to every other state in India. Now on that, the power to extinguish a state completely, does it exist or not? The Supreme Court has not answered. It has actually refused to answer that question. That was a very important question which was directly faced with the court. Now, when you don't give a timeline, what has the Supreme Court said? September 24 for elections as UT, correct? Now, September 24, let's say elections to UT happen. Now, if a new UT assembly is elected, after that, you will have 4 or 5 years of the UT assembly. So there is effectively what the Supreme Court has done is 1 year for election as a UT, and thereafter maybe 4 years, 5 years, whatever, that UT assembly continues, and once it extinguishes, then state elections will be held, the state reconversion happens in state. So I am quite disappointed on the aspect of state, because there the question was directly before the court, and in my respectful view, the court should have answered that instead of relying upon a statement by a law officer.
One last point, very quickly, is this now irrevocable? In that sense, Satyapal Jain, do you believe that we cannot go back? There can be no turning the clock back?
So far as, see, two issues. So far as 370 is concerned, it's all karwa guzar gaya, gubar dekhte rahe. That is gone now. But so far as the issue of creation of states is concerned, the Indian Parliament is the supreme authority for doing that. They have been creating states, dissolving states earlier also. This power is vested in Parliament. We should have faith in Parliament, which consists of representatives from all sections of society, all states. We should have faith in Parliament. Court has left it to the discretion of the Parliament, and I hope the Government of India's assurance that they want to restore the statehood as early as possible, and as reiterated by the Honourable Home Minister in Parliament today, the government means what it says.
Shadad, do you believe that, in a sense, what about the representatives of the people of Jammu and Kashmir? You heard Omar Abdullah. They do not have any agency in this entire decision making.
Yeah, so see, as far as Article 370 is concerned, whether one likes it or not, I think that part of the legal chapter at least, is over. But the question is, can there be another autonomy of a different form within the sphere of the existing constitution with respect to land rights, such as it's there in Himachal, is there in something that can be considered at a different point in time, I guess. But as far as 370 as we knew, I do agree that that part is over.
Okay.
Statehood with certain special kind of provisions which are there for a whole different host of states in India, such as, all our hill states have special provisions with respect to land, etc. That is possibly conceivable even by this government, maybe by a future government, whatever. But 370, as we know it, I do agree that that chapter is possibly now at its end.
Okay. Shadan Farasat, Satyapal Jain, for giving us a sense of what the legal aspects of the judgment mean. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Okay, let me turn from there to the other big story tonight, which came from Bhopal, where the BJP announced a surprise choice yet again, new Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister, a name that few expected. ABP VP leader turned three-time Ujjain MLA, Dr. Mohan Yadav, is now the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister. The appointment of Mohan Yadav, who was Higher Education Minister in the Shivraj Singh Chouhan government, marks the end, some say, of the 2-decade-long Shivraj Singh Chouhan era. Paulomi Saha, Hemendra Sharma with more.
A big surprise and a generational shift in Madhya Pradesh. Dr. Mohan Yadav is the new Chief Minister. The announcement came after the crucial Legislative Party meeting at the BJP headquarters in Bhopal.
I've got a piece of breaking news. Mohan Yadav. Mohan Yadav is going to be the next Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. That's the news that we are getting from inside.
58 years old Mohan Yadav is three-time MLA from Ujjain South. He started as a student leader at Madhav Science College and was elected as MLA for the first time in 2013. He served as Higher Education Minister in the previous Shivraj Singh Chouhan government.
जो विकास का कारवा बढ़ाया माननीय मुख्यमंत्री शिवराज सिंह जी चौहान ने और यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री के नेतृत्व में, निश्चित रूप से हम इसको आगे बढ़ाएंगे। एक बार फिर मैं हमारे लिए जो स्लोगन था, एमपी के मन में मोदी और मोदी के मन में एमपी, इस स्लोगन के आधार पर निश्चित रूप से उनके विकास के सपने को लेकर आगे चलेंगे।
The crowning of Dr. Mohan Yadav marks the end of nearly 2-decade reign of Shivraj Singh Chouhan in the state. Soon after Yadav's name was announced, Chouhan headed to Raj Bhavan to resign. He also posted on X congratulating his colleague and successor.
प्रदेश की जो एक टीम होती है और विधायक दल के जो प्रमुख लोग होते हैं, वो सब बैठ करके विचार करते हैं, एक एक नाम पर विचार करते हैं। प्रदेश के जो वर्तमान मुख्यमंत्री हैं, उन्होंने स्वयं इच्छा प्रकट की कि इस नाम का प्रस्तावना मैं करूंगा। उन्होंने प्रस्तावना की और बाकी जो प्रमुख 9-10 लोग हैं, उन्होंने उसका समर्थन किया, अनुमोदन किया और उसके बाद पूरे विधायक दल ने उसका समर्थन किया।
After the shock announcement, celebrations erupted at Dr. Mohan Yadav's home in Ujjain.
उनकी मेहनत फल लाई है महाकाल बाबा का आशीर्वाद मिला है जो वो मुख्यमंत्री बने हैं और सेवा के लिए तैयार है। बहुत खुशी का माहौल है, खुशी का कोई ठिकाना ही नहीं है, कुछ बता ही नहीं सकते कितनी खुशी हुई है।
Mohan Yadav will have 2 deputies, Jagdish Devra and Rajendra Shukla. Narendra Singh Tomar, who was Agriculture Minister at the centre, will now be MP Assembly Speaker.
The anointment of Dr. Mohan Yadav as Chief Minister came as a shock. But with an OBC candidate as Chief Minister, Jagdish Devra, an SC, and Rajendra Shukla, a Brahmin, as Deputy Chief Ministers, and Narendra Singh Tomar, a Thakur, as the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, the BJP seems to have got its caste arithmetic right in Madhya Pradesh. So what's in store for Rajasthan next? Will the BJP spring a surprise there too? With Himinder Sharma in Bhopal, Paulami Saha for India Today.
Joining me now, Pratyush Kant, BJP spokesperson, Amitabh Tiwari, political analyst, to understand what eventually led to Mohan Yadav being made Chief Minister. Pratyush, you explained to me all the names that were put on TV channels. Along comes Mohan Yadav. I didn't see his name anywhere. Yes, he's an OBC from Malwa, from Ujjain. But is it a surprise choice? Is this the Modi-Shah way of choosing candidates? Choose someone who's the most unexpected and some would say the least threatening.
Rajdeep sir, you will give this point that all the analysts and everybody in Delhi got it wrong. This is the difference of BJP and Congress here. Top 10 leaders were in touch with every single MLA. We were trying to look for the choice, the popular choice among all of them. We have a system in place. And this is the name which has come, is the full marks to the system of BJP.
No, are you saying he's the choice of the MLAs?
Look what happened to Congress.
Pratyush, are you seriously telling me that the MLAs preferred
Absolutely,
Mohan Yadav? That he's their first choice? Or is it the choice of Amit Shah and Narendra Modi and the Sangh Parivar?
Sir, I know for very many years you have been covering politics, so you are used to that Congress era where the family used to decide, or Ahmed Bhai used to call you at night and tell you that Rajdeep is going to become the Chief Minister.
No,
it doesn't work like this.
No. Pratyush, Ahmed Patel never called me, sorry.
You love.
I wish he did, but he didn't.
Then I take it back, sir. Sir, the whole process, how BJP chooses a candidate is totally different. You are such a lover of cricket. You enthuse new blood. This is the story which defines BJP totally in a different light from what you have seen Congress function. Most of the journalists are of this mindset that either it is Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi who decides, or now Narendra Modi ji or Amit Shah will decide. It just doesn't work like this, sir. It just doesn't work like this. Only that people, the name you were guessing did not happen. So you are saying, no, it has come from the center. No, sir, it has not.
Okay, interesting the way you're putting it. You believe this is a generational change. And I take your point. I take your point that the BJP is able to effect generational change in a manner that the Congress perhaps is not. Look at what happened in 2018. No Sachin Pilot, no Jyotiraditya Scindia. They stuck with the old guard. Amitabh Tiwari, in your view, is that what the BJP has done through this? Decided we want to in some way infuse an element of a generational change, almost rejuvenate the party after 20 years of the Shivraj Singh Chouhan era. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, so essentially, after a 20-year Shivraj Singh's era, there was a fatigue factor amongst even the hardcore BJP supporters. And that's why the BJP did not go ahead and announce him as a CM face. Now, by putting Mohan Yadav in his place, it is putting in a new leadership and a new team which will take the party into the future for the next 10-15 years. It's also acknowledging and rewarding the OBCs for their traditional support to the BJP. 56% OBCs backed the party versus 34% as per your survey, Access My India survey in MP, which was bang on. It also is sending a signal to the dominant Yadav community in Bihar and UP, because these communities have been largely backing the Samajwadi Party and the Rashtriya Janata Dal. It is giving a signal that BJP is not anti-Yadav, and it too can install a Yadav chief minister from their community. See, so far, the party has been able to create a wedge between the Yadav and the non-Yadav OBCs, largely in Bihar and UP. MP In MP, there is no dominant OBC caste. Yadavs, Kurmis, Lodhis all account for 6% of the population. So this is a good laboratory or an experiment in a state where there is no dominant versus non-dominant OBC politics. So by installing a Yadav CM here, the lower OBCs are not going to challenge this or be angry at this move, because there is no such confrontation here. Yadavs are not dominant caste. But in UP, Bihar, that is the situation. So it also signals, in a way, an end of Yadav versus non-Yadav politics, more inclusive social engineering for the BJP.
You know, social engineering is a word, Pratyush, that's used again and again. You said this is the choice of the MLAs, the popular choice. Others will say this is the Modi-Shah way of social engineering. A tribal face in Chhattisgarh, now an OBC in Madhya Pradesh, possibly some are saying woman upper caste from Rajasthan, who knows what next, but effectively trying to effect social engineering along with generational change.
Sir, Prime Minister has made it very clear that women, youth, farmer, poor are the main castes for us. But I agree that most of the political analysts will look at those data through caste census or caste whatever. But BJP just doesn't work like this. This man who has been asked to lead in any state, sir, any new face you see, they are there because they are popular choices.
No, but he's a controversial figure. Mr. Pratyush Kant, I have the reports in July this year. He was being accused of trying to change the master plan of Ujjain to serve certain special interests. There was a long series of stories that came in the Hindi newspapers. It's not as if Dr. Mohan Yadav has some clean image.
Sir, in BJP, it is zero tolerance towards corruption. So, and if there's no corrupt who's left in this party.
No, so, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan had to intervene. Mr. Shivraj Singh Chouhan had to intervene in Ujjain and restore the original plan. If you say that Mohan Yadav
aware of those stories, sir.
It's there. All the stories are there.
Sir, I can assure you one thing, that Mohan Yadav ji has been chosen because he is the popular choice.
Okay.
He's young, he's energetic, he'll bring a new life to the party, and that is how any democratic party should function, and that is how BJP functions.
Okay.
Let us get out of that mindset of that we can only be ruled by those family parties, sir. You know, I mean, it's high time. You open the newspaper, you see some daughter-in-law appointed, nephew appointed, son appointed. Sir, let us give chance to the new people. They may not be that coming from those blue bloods, sir, but give them chance, sir. Give them chance, sir.
That certainly is a strength of the BJP at the moment, this ability to encourage new talents. But a final word, Amitabh, and a short word. Vajpayee Advani era, here was someone chosen in that era, 2005, Shivraj Singh Chouhan. What happens to him next? Does he come to the center, or is it the end of Mamaji?
No, it's not the end of Mamaji for sure, because he's just 64 years of age, and having led the party in MP so successfully, also leading to a 3/4 majority, I think the party will utilize him at the center. There is an agriculture ministry which is vacant after the resignation of Narendra Singh Tomarji. So he could be used as an agriculture minister because he has led an agriculture revolution in the state. Or even, see, he is fairly popular across India. He's not hardline Hindutva leader. He is very much in demand even in southern states and campaigns regularly for the party. So we could also see him as the president, as the national president in the future. And in 2024, if the party comes to power in a post-Modi era, people like Shivraj will be needed in the BJP because there will be a transition at some point of time, even between 2024 and 2029.
Interesting. Don't write off Mamaji just yet, but just look at the way the BJP looks to the future. And there's a lesson there for the Congress party. They've not been able to replace either Ashok Gehlot or Kamal Nath, who have been defeated yet. They're not out of power, but the BJP is actually removed or moved on from a successful chief minister to bring in a new face. There's a lesson and a learning somewhere there. Pratyush, Amitabh, thank you very much for joining me here on the News Today. Let's turn to our Good News Today story, and it's a good news about India Today and Aaj Tak, because India Today Television swept the Indian Television Academy Awards from Best English News Channel to Best Hindi News Channel. India Today shone at that starry night of the annual Indian Television Academy Awards 2023. I leave you with those images, and a thank you to all our viewers who continue to watch the channel and this show in particular. We are grateful as always for your support. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Jai Hind, Shubh Ratri, Namaskar.
Popular English news channel, the award goes to India Today.
It was a clean sweep at the Indian Television Academy Awards by the India Today group. From best channel to best talk show, all the laurels came India Today's way. For always ensuring the gold standard of journalism, India Today Television bagged the Best English News Channel Award. Aaj Tak brought home the trophy for Best Hindi News Channel.
It gives me the greatest possible pleasure that Aaj Tak and India Today have once again been judged India's most popular channels at the ITA Awards. As someone who lives and breathes these channels, this honor is a real affirmation. A reminder that we have chosen well to make integrity, quality and innovation uncompromising fixtures in everything we do. Running a news channel, I'm always asked, is there pressure on you? Yes, there's a lot of pressure on us, and the pressure is yours. We always want to be bigger, better, faster, and more for you, our viewer.
The crowning glory was the ultimate ITA Nari Shakti Scroll of Honor going to India Today Group Vice Chairperson Kalipuri.
ये गर्व का मौका है कि मेरे नारी शक्ति के समर्थन और संकल्प को इस मंच ने और ताकत दी है। लंबे वक्त से बहुत से लोग ये बताते रहे कि एक आदमी की सफलता के पीछे एक औरत का हाथ होता है। अब वक्त बदला है। हर सफलता खुद हासिल करने के लिए हम सब आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। आत्मनिर्भर भारत की नींव आत्मनिर्भर नारी शक्ति ही बनेगी। एक नई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इस सम्मान के साथ मुझे मिली है। मैं इसे अपनी पूरी कमिटमेंट से निभाऊंगी।
Best Chat Show, the winner is Rajdeep Sardesai. India Today.
And the awards continued to pour in for India Today. Rajdeep Sardesai won the Best Talk Show Award.
I've always believed that journalists must tell truth to power. And I hope more and more journalists will tell truth to power and not be cheerleaders of those in power.
The award for the best anchor male for news and current affairs. Award goes to Rahul Kanwal, News Track.
While Rahul Kanwal bagged the Best News Anchor of India.
इंडियन टेलीविजन अकेडमी का साथ ही साथ इंडिया टुडे ग्रुप का मैं शुक्रगुजार हूं कि इस तरह की बेबाक, निर्भीक, फेयर, बैलेंस्ड पत्रकारिता के लिए आज भी हिंदुस्तान में जगह है।
The ITA Award for Best Documentary went to India Today Originals, Dancing on the Grave. Thank you viewers for your continued support and trust. Bureau Report, India Today.